What is the hardest test you have ever taken? Was it the SATs to get into your dream college? For some, maybe it's facing that terrifying needle that's going to prick you and draw a blood test. Or was it finally passing the 137 interviews it takes to get hired at Capital? For me, my hardest test lasted 5 years and nearly killed me. I come from a long line of strong women. My great-grandmother, Nane, raised 17 children while operating a working ranch. She's my pioneer. From my mom and my sister, I learned to work hard and go for what I wanted. Before the age of 30, I had a very promising career. I was married to the man of my dreams. We had a very nice house, a cute dog. We had it all minus the white picket fence. But I wasn't raised to settle. I was ready for the next test. I had been cruising in the fast lane, and I was ready to take the next exit. For me, that meant entrepreneur and mom. So when I turned 30, I took an opportunity to purchase a children's franchise, basically a gymnastics and sports facility for small kids. I even got investor backing because I wasn't going to open one little gym. I was going to open up 3 locations in San Antonio, and within 5 years, I would purchase the entire franchise rights for Mexico. Yes, the country. Some people thought I was being too ambitious. But I come from tough stock, and I knew I could pass this test. Well, after several years of working myself to the bone, open to close 7 days a week, the business is struggling. And the worst part is, we're not making any money. We're actually very much in the red. As for my hopes of being a mom, after seeing dozens of doctors, taking hundreds of tests, and trying multiple fertility treatments, I'm still not pregnant. And I'm so ashamed that I can't even tell anyone. How can you possibly admit that you can't do even the most basic natural function for a woman? I couldn't even have a baby. And by the way, guess what I see when I go to work every day? Babies! Cute, adorable babies with their moms and their dads. I see toddlers who run across the gym to their parents because they did their first ta-da! And what I see on those parents' faces, the joy, pride, love, it's everything I want but can't have. One day while I'm on a call with one of my investors, his name's Jorge, he happens to be a mentor and my brother-in-law, something in me cracks and the floodgates open. I tell him everything. I tell him, I don't know if I can do this business thing, it's struggling, my marriage is starting to suffer. I even tell him I can't get pregnant and that I think I'm severely depressed. He says some very encouraging things to me, but what surprised me the most about that phone call is how much better I felt at finally letting it out, at finally saying something to someone about my problems. It didn't happen overnight, but pretty soon I started opening up more and more. I finally told my sister, who's like my best friend. I told other families, I told friends. And before I know it, I had this network of people who were supporting me, encouraging me, giving me advice. But just like with all advice, there is some good and there is some downright crazy. My cousin Esmeralda was so adamant on getting me pregnant that she took me to the most infamous curandera in all of Mexico, a witch doctor. We show up to the creepiest house in the scariest neighborhood I could ever imagine. We are led to a small back room, and I'm instructed to lay down, undress. My 3 cousins that went with me and the curandera sit all around me, and she lays a small towel on my stomach. She begins massaging me, and then things turn crazy. She becomes completely and totally possessed. She's chanting some mantra in African Latin. I have no idea. It sounds crazy. Her eyes are rolling behind her head, and she's still messing with my stomach. So I get up because I'm going to stop this right now. But she tells my cousins to hold me down, and they do it. Finally, she begins to act like she's struggling against my stomach, and she's like, I almost have it, I got it. It turns out that someone who didn't want me to have babies performed some voodoo on me. But thanks to her, she cured me by pulling 2 dead frogs out of my uterus. The only thing that really left my body that day was the $500 I paid that crazy lady. I was obviously desperate. And you know what? Everyone around me is getting pregnant. Even my dog Daisy gets pregnant. Not once, twice. Instead of raising babies, I'm raising puppies. Meet my kids, Puffy, Mia, Coco, Mimi, Daisy. Some people gave me some more practical advice. Like a mom from the gym who said, Carla, I insist you see my former fertility doctor. She says, I know what you're going to say. You've already seen dozens of doctors and you've tried it all. But she's different because she doesn't just try to get you pregnant. She tries to find out what's wrong with you. I finally get in after about a month of all kinds of different tests. I get called back for an appointment to hear the results. I get called to her office, not the exam room, her office. I didn't even know they had those. She starts right away. Carla, do you want the good news or the bad? Well, I want the bad news. She says, the bad news is we found 2 cysts on your ovaries and they're growing at an alarming rate. We need to operate as soon as possible, followed by a biopsy. She goes on to talk about risk and probabilities and treatments and la, 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 la. I am stunned silent. I'm about to leave, and then I remember, doctor, what was the good news? She said, the good news is, if you hadn't been trying to get pregnant and had these extra tests done, we probably would not have found them until it was too late. Here I thought that the fertility treatments and trying to get pregnant was killing me, but it probably saved my life. After 5 years of tremendous stress, a mountain of debt, and tons of heartache, I realized that it's time to pull over. I asked myself so many questions. I guess I'm not that strong of a woman. Did I take the wrong exit? What did I do wrong? I know I have to make some changes in my life because at this point, I'm running on fumes. The first big decision I make is that I'm stopping the fertility. No more drugs, no more injections, no more treatments. My body just can't take it anymore. The dozens of failed pregnancy tests I have to take every month are too much. I also know that I need to get a handle on my business. I've got 2 locations now. I've poured my money, my heart, my soul, and every dime I have into this. I got to figure out what's going to happen. I call a meeting with my investors, and I have a really candid conversation about the current state of the business. They recommend an internal audit. It was 2 months of some grueling activity. We discovered that operationally, we were running a pretty good shop. But the business management and the financials were horrible. There were things that I neglected that I didn't even know about. We were weeks away from being sued by our landlord for missing our clauses on our lease. We discovered an error in 4 years worth of payroll tax errors, and people started talking about seizing assets, taking my home, freezing my accounts. And at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. That was my fault. And I knew I had to make a decision. I fired myself. And the thing that I was dreading the most, and also the thing that I neglected the most, was I needed to deal with my marriage. It was falling apart. I call Arturo one day at work and I say, hey, we need to talk. We sit down at the kitchen table that day, and I'll be really honest with you. I was prepared for battle. I was prepared for him to be disappointed, angry, to harp on me about what I did to our family and our lives. I was ready for him to tell me that he wanted a divorce. When I finally finished talking and telling him all my plans and what we need to work on, he just sighs and he looks at me. He grabs my hand and he says, Carla, yo lo único que necesito es a ti. Yo quiero que regrese mi esposa. He said, I want my wife back. I thought the most important tests in life were making it as a businesswoman, as a mom who would carry her family. But I failed at those tests. You could say I was the biggest loser. I lost 2 failing businesses that were weighing on my back. I lost 2 cysts that were endangering my life. And thank goodness I lost those 2 disgusting frogs that were living in my uterus. Three months after I quit the business and all my fertility treatments, Arturo and I are going to a Spurs game. It's date night. But I say, oh, honey, before you leave, you know what? I'm feeling kind of crampy. I'm going to grab some Tylenol. He says, you've been complaining about cramps for 3 weeks. How long does PMS supposed to last anyway? I roll my eyes and walk away. And as I'm heading to the bathroom, I'm like, you know what? It has been about a month. I've been feeling kind of tired and crabby. So instead of grabbing Tylenol, I go for a pregnancy test. Now you have to understand that I have dozens of these left over. I used to order them in bulk off the internet. By the time Arturo walks in to see what's taking me so long, I've taken 10 tests. He walks in while I'm prepared to take another one. But he yanks it out of my hand and says, are you crazy? Those are $10 a pop. When I saw the look on his face, I could barely get the words out. I pointed to the test on the counter. Arturo, all the tests are positive. And I knew he was thinking the exact same thing I was. We wanted so badly for it to be true, but it had been a really long time since anything good had happened. We were too afraid to hope. "10 months after giving up the business and my hopes of being a mom, Arturo and I welcomed a healthy baby boy into this world. Meet Sebastian. And let me tell you, he was so worth the wait. It turns out I am a strong woman. I learned to speak up. That was the ultimate test. Speaking up meant I found a friend who recommended a doctor who saved my life. Speaking up meant I finally found the perspective to realize that a failing business did not mean I was a failure. Speaking up saved my marriage. And I'm speaking up today because I want to help others find their voice. I want to tell you not to suffer in silence. It's okay to ask for help. Have the courage to speak up. Today, I have my promising career back. I am married to a good man. Same house, but now we have 5 dogs. My lovely stepdaughter, Susie. My mom. And the final piece to the puzzle, Sebastian. So it turns out I am strong, because no matter what the test or how hard it is, I know that I will survive it. And I know I don't have to do it alone. Thank you.